And now there's Marner.
It's the same thing.
They fired Kyle Dubas 5 weeks before Marner's full no move kicked in. And then after it kicked in, these idiots said, hey, what if you waived? And Mitch, I can't even be mad at him, goes, no. Then they waited a while and then they asked him again. And guess what he said? No! You got...
Especially a month before his wife's due to give birth. They're like, hey, you want to go to Carolina?
You want to uproot your fucking life, stupid? Yeah, no. Like, the Leafs lost the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs and the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs.
In 2023?
In June 2023. And I said it at the damn time. I didn't say specifically, oh, they're going to lose next year and the year after. But, like, you're committing to this. You're committing to seeing it through. And I don't like that the conversation's getting away from the truth online is, oh, man, fans who think Marner walking is good, they're stupid. It's not up to the fans. A lot of fans, I think most fans, when that very obvious, like Dubas was subtle as an axe, that contract was designed for, hey, we're going to get to this point, and if we haven't accomplished anything by this point, I'm trading this person.
He had a parachute.
Yes!
Dubas smartly put a parachute on his back when he jumped out of the plane.
And Shanahan cut the thing.
Yes.
And then strapped it to Brad.
And he told Brad, you don't have control of your parachute. I control it.
Hi, Brad. You have 5 weeks to figure shit out here and get everyone's number. And also, you're not allowed on the draft floor for the first round. And like, it's Herculean that Brad did as good a job as he has over the last year and a half.
I've liked the Brad job this year.
Shanahan completely fucked him.
Yeah.
Like, Shanahan completely screwed this person who he hired. Shanahan should be unemployable.
Well, we'll get to that.
He should be
don't
completely
go there.
unemployed.
Please, let's not go there yet.
But
let's go to Marner.
2023 was your last chance to get something for this person. Like, some fans are going to resent, oh man, they could have had Rantanen.
They were never getting Rantanen for Marner.
You idiots! He had a no-move clause that you had years of warning was coming. You let it click in, and then you got mad at him for... You tried to trade him multiple times? What's the matter with you? You had a moment to trade him. You could have got the sun and the moon for him, and you spit in the face of that opportunity, and then resented him when he exercised the thing that you didn't take this person seriously. You said Mitch Marner, who him and his camp and his agent fought you tooth and nail in the media and in public and everywhere when you designed that contract, and you were confused when he exercised the fruits of that negotiation. You're genuinely stupid, unserious people. What? They tried to trade him once. They tried to trade him again. No. He made it very clear that I am going to use this thing. It kicked in. He used it, and we all went, oh. Now, I think the Leafs are bad for him. I think he's bad for the Leafs. I think the relationship got toxic, and I think he should have been open to a trade. I think. But I'm not him.
All right.
I'm not him. I'm not in his family. I'm not in his camp. He had this no move, and honestly, like, as a husband, as a dad, I'm not uprooting my life right now because you're fucking dumb and didn't trade me a year ago.
Yeah.
My wife's 7-8 months pregnant.
Yeah, Mitch Marner
Are you
staying here
stupid?
isn't his fault. Mitch Marner staying here is Brendan Shanahan's fault.
Sorry, I am going in circles.
Yeah.
But getting middle end, this is Shanahan's fault.
100%
You're
agree.
getting nothing for Marner because of him.
Yes.
So
That
he's
the
leaving.
asset management stuff comes down to Brendan Shanahan doubling
yes,
down.
and we'll get to that. But I think it bears repeating because Mitch was getting booed every time he touched the puck. And I do want to go back to I want to explain the Marner situation in a little bit more depth because I think people are trying to boil this down to a tweet and you can't. There's a lot of history here.
Yeah.
And it starts with this kid getting drafted who Mike Babcock didn't want. And the story goes that Mark Hunter told him to sit the fuck down and drafted Mitch Marner. And he comes in and Babcock's real hard on him. Mm-hmm. And the Leafs say, you can't get Schedule A bonuses. We don't give those away. And then promptly give them to Austin Matthews. Mitch Marner was drafted 4th. Austin was drafted 1st. They both probably could have had Schedule A's.
Honestly, both negotiations were stupid. If you remember, because Matthews wasn't even signed until August.
Yes, because he was like, fuck
Lou
off.
was like, I'm fucking Lou. And like, it's the first overall pick. What are we all doing here? God.
And then
everyone just trying to big dog everyone instead of winning.
Marner's put on the 4th line because Babs is trying to get on him. We all know Listgate, where he made a list. Babs made him make a list of all the players that he on the team that he didn't think were working hard enough. And, Kadri and Bozak were named. And fucking Mike Babcock goes to the middle of the dressing room and goes, this is what this player is saying about you.
Yeah.
What a horrible person. Fuck off forever.
Mike Babcock.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Not Mitch's fault.
Yeah,
This kid's in tears.
No, not 20-year-old Mitch Marner, 19-year-old.
He came to the Toronto Maple Leafs and was promptly fucked out of Schedule A bonuses and then literally tortured by his coach and then put on the 4th line. And then at the worst time ever, Mitch's contract comes up. And it's the worst time ever because the Leafs had already signed Tavares to an absolutely monstrous deal.
They used Mitch in the video that they used to recruit John Tavares.
Had Mitch Marner's camp with a year to go said, we'll do 8/8. And the Leafs said, no, we'll wait till after this season happens.
And remember, the cap was lower, and even 8/8 was a lot.
But it would have been a great deal.
It would have been spectacular.
And so then he goes out and he scores 94 points.
Mm-hmm. And with the guy he helped recruit. And
Austin Matthews
he did the work.
Also gets his contract done over the course of that season. And immediately after, this is where it turns on Mitch.
Because his dumbass of an agent.
So
dumbass.
So the second Matthews contract gets signed, his agent's in the Toronto Star spouting off about how it was a bad deal and blah, blah, blah.
So stupid.
And beyond stupid. And all the while, Mitch has a arm's length from his agent. But let me tell you something.
Oh, stop.
Let me tell you something. Your agent doesn't do anything unless you approve it. And, that became the summer of way to go, Paul, online. And by Paul, we mean Paul Marner.
Coincided with a popular meme.
And what happened was Darren Ferris, through various members of the media, was funneling things like, well, Mitch could get as much as $14 million. And from what you understand, Columbus offered $12 to $13 million for him on an RFA deal, and he just didn't sign it because he didn't want to. And then there was offer sheet. And then there was the story that, he's going to go play in Zurich. And then the Zurich Lions are tweeting about it. And then, it was a whole bunch of bullshit, right? We get to the day before camp, and the Leafs cave on every demand. They give him a no-move clause in the final 2 years, not the final year, the final 2, and they pay him about $2.5 million more a year than they wanted to. And then they say, and then they say in front of the media, we made the right call. We think he's going to go with it. And by the way, had COVID not happened, maybe they did.
And the one piece of context you're forgetting is the William Nylander deal. Chris Johnson wrote about it when he did his Marner breakdown. That was the longest holdout of the salary cap era. And the Leafs are coming off of that negotiation.
And what did they do?
He signed with 5 minutes left until the deadline.
Exactly.
For him to be eligible to play.
What did they do, guys? They caved to every Nylander demand.
Yes. So they're coming off of that, and Mitch Marner sat out the first day of training camp. and they immediately acquiesced because they said they don't want that again.
Right.
In back-to-back seasons.
Right. So then, and let me just say this, because some of this is Mitch's team creating this. Some of this is fans reacting to this and going, frankly, doing terrible things. Because there is another side to this story. All right. Mitch and his family, his dad specifically, his agent specifically, mishandled and bungled his PR over that negotiation. That is a fact. This was the most popular player on the team.
You're talking about the 2019?
Yes.
Oh, he was a Care Bear.
People loved this person. They would have died for this person. And those guys got arrogant and thought, you know what? It doesn't matter what we do. People are going to love this kid anyway, and we're going to go get the maximal dollar. And you could kind of see how they thought that would have worked, except for Toronto Maple Leafs fans are largely blue collar. And I know Toronto downtown, there's the finance and all the lawyers and whatever. Toronto Maple Leaf fans are not just 416.
There's a lot of people who have never friggin' been here who think they know what Toronto is.
They can fuck This is a hard-working, a very expensive place to live, Southern Ontario. People don't have a lot of extra cash, and these tickets are among the most expensive in the entire league. And I think it's important that we acknowledge and recognize that they bungled that they destroyed part of his reputation, and frankly, with some fans, it never recovered.
No.
And that resentment builds. So then we have series like the Montreal series. We have series like the Tampa series in 2022, Boston series in 2019, and Columbus series. And I want you to understand from Mitch's perspective how things have gone, because I think this is important too, okay? This is a guy who, after one of those series, had people dumping their garbage on his front lawn. This is a guy...
Are we finally doing this?
Yes. This is a guy who, at his cottage, had people throwing not just Montreal Canadiens gear, but garbage on his lawn there.
Golf balls is what we heard.
Golf balls. We also... And flat out garbage. Flat out garbage.
Oh.
This is a guy who was walking his dog, and a kid approaches him on the street and yells at him and says, "Why haven't you got the contract done?"
Oh, geez.
This is a guy who was robbed allegedly at gunpoint for his Range Rover with his wife in the car.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't know who Mitch Marner was.
That
wasn't like I don't want people who don't know that story to not be confused.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
He's had a rough few years.
Those other examples are like hockey things.
Yeah, and
this was just like...
They wanted the Range Rover.
Somebody targeted the car, and they didn't know who Mitch Marner was.
So I don't know what it's like to have a gun waved in my face, or even have a knife waved, or be threatened to get out of my car. But you bet your ass I'm getting out of the car and giving you the keys. And beyond all that, I can understand how, with the golf balls and the garbage and the Montreal Canadiens merch and everything else, and then getting robbed, why you would have sort of a shitty taste in your mouth about the place that you live. Mm-hmm. And also the Schedule A bonuses, the Mike Babcock stuff. You don't forget that.
I know.
You don't forget that.
So I'm caught between, I perfectly understand being bitter about the Schedule A bonuses, but I'm also like, okay, when do you drop it? Like you then signed how much was his contract? 65, 66, 67 million? When do you stop being mad? When do you realize you're Scrooge McDuck?
You did. The timeline is like you got screwed on those bonuses, but then the Leafs gave you everything you wanted.
But then the damage was already done, boys.
Yeah, but then you got everything you wanted.
No, but the damage was already done because Marner's camp, again, this is both sides, Marner's camp screwed that up. They thought his PR image was unbeatable. And by the way, it was. But they thought it was bulletproof, and it wasn't. And then what happens is you get fans on him, mm-hmm. harassing family members, messaging people that know him. And you also have a group of people around him that, frankly, don't do the Elliot Friedman thing, which is don't send them the articles about themselves.
No.
Do not do that. And so what you have now is you have an objective situation where people in his orbit hate the media and they hate the fans. And I don't know how Mitch feels about any of these things specifically. I can tell he doesn't like the media. But I can also say
I don't expect him to.
Yeah, I don't expect him to either. I don't really care. But I can also say that Mitch cared a lot.
Yes.
The guys in the room love this guy.
Yep.
Love this guy. Very popular teammate.
Okay.
So this is a scenario where this is a bad relationship and it's ending. And who do I put that at the feet of? I put that partially at the feet of the people that were the grown adults in the room over the age of 50 who were leading him the wrong way in those 2019 negotiations. I also put it at the president's foot of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
He's the reason they're losing him for nothing. Like literally one of the greatest players who's ever played for your organization.
So Mitch isn't getting any blame there.
Well, I 100%.
Well,
blame him.
I mean, he's got
because
he's got 7 assists and no goals in 20 games.
Because
Okay, I'm just
but this is where I'm getting to it, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted that context because now what I'm hearing after these games, because I get messages from people, they're going, yeah, after game 5, nothing. After game 6, the messages I got were, yeah, what are you going to say about him now, assholes?
Wait, did you actually get a message? Is it from who I think?
No. And because I talk to people, and then after game 7, it's he's probably out of here. Can't wait for you guys not to be able to mess around anymore. And here's the problem. What it's gotten to, I think, within that camp is that they think it's the fans and the media's fault. It doesn't matter. They feel like whatever they do, everybody's going to hate Mitch anyway. And by the way, people don't hate Mitch. I asked at Sport Check here who their top selling jersey this year was. And recently it was Nylander and Nyes, and they sold well over 3,000 jerseys this year, and they were selling about 150 every home game for the playoffs. Okay?
Jeez.
It's crazy.
Wow. At one store.
Guess who the highest selling jersey is?
Marner.
Of course. And you know what's interesting is as a media member, when I hear this stuff back as feedback, it feels a little bit like Twitter feels. Twitter feels like, you know, people could say, hey, I love your content. You're like, great. Someone goes, hey, you're a fucking loser. It sticks with you all day. Right?
Yes.
We in the media have draped these guys in laurels when they've done well. Mm-hmm. All we have done is sung their praises. And by the way, as a fan, that's all I want to do.
There's no equity in the bank of goodwill. You could say 100,000 good things about Mitch Marner. It doesn't make a lasting.
It's a leaky bucket. But when it comes to criticism, they go, see, and it doesn't
game
matter.
6 against Montreal, you weren't very good. What?
It doesn't,
and it just deletes the last half decade.
It doesn't matter to them that Mitch Marner had 2 shots on goal in the final 5 games of the Florida series. It doesn't matter to them that, you know, Mitch Marner's, I think, game 5, 6, and 7 point totals. I think he's played over 20 games total in a 5, 6, and 7.
7 assists in 20 games.
7 assists in 20 games.
Also, I think that's 3 shots now because he had 2 last night.
Oh, he had 2 last night.
Yeah,
so 3. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So he had 2 in one game, 1 in another, and that's 5 games.
Yeah.
Guys, what I'm saying here is that it's toxic on both sides. What I will not accept is that it is Leafs fans' fault.
It's insulting. You don't have to justify.
What is it? Yeah. What is it about that we had any control over? What in any of what I've just told you did the fans have any control over other than their emotional reaction to, okay, you want to make this much money, here's the expectations.
Adam, to be fair, I kept sending him passes into his feet. I kept doing it. He asked for it a little in front of him, and I couldn't do it.
If Mitch Marner had just like scored ever in his life in a game 7, all of this is fine.
It goes away.
Completely goes away.
And that's
if he just performed on. This is where all of this for me falls on him because his job is to perform on the ice. And if he was the type of player that could perform in the playoffs and carried this team to victory even one time in one of these important games, and I'm not talking about game 6s, I'm talking about the final games. If he had ever done that and shown up, everything's fine.
You know, people have been saying this like a gotcha, but I agree with you. Marner's going to go somewhere else. He's going to win a cup.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it'll probably unlock the playoff side of his game.
You know, he's going to play with McKinnon.
Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
He might go to the Avs and just be their next guy running there like Rantanen was, and they'll win a cup.
Mm-hmm. And he just becomes mini McKinnon. Instead of
Martin
this meek persona that he's had in Toronto, he's just going to turn into like a chickpea pasta master and friggin' just beat up anyone who ever eats a card.
But I think Steve, like, you should expand on, it's not a dunk on the Leafs fans that he's going to move on and be successful. We all kind of expect that.
No, like, listen, I think the fans and the media and all that, I obviously think it's laughable, but it definitely applies to certain people. Of course it applies to certain people. And towards the end of his tenure here, like, I was yelling at Brad, who had just got here, like, you got to move this guy before his no move kicks in. But once it kicked in, my attention sort of became, why do you want this? What? Like, you wear the jersey like a weighted vest. It's so obvious, and it is a burden to you. And some guys can do this, and maybe he could at the beginning, and things happen. We change his people under the circumstances, yada, yada. I don't think being a Leaf was good for him towards the end. So I think that's valid. I don't know why he wanted it. I think he wasted 2 years here.
Yeah, and
at the end. But like I 100% think he's going to go somewhere else, and he's going to have the weight of the world off his shoulders. He's going to become the best skater in the league. He's going to win an Art Ross, and he might win a Conn Smythe.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hilarious.
CJ, in his article about Marner and like what happens next, he made the great point that Mitch is the first member of the core four now that is coming due, and he has the decision now to break up the core. It's no longer on Brendan Shanahan or Kyle Dubas to just keep the road steady and continue. Now we have somebody who might not want to be a part of this anymore and is now on one of the members to be like, yeah, I'm done with this experiment.
It's insulting. The news of Shanahan's firing hasn't come down while we've recorded. It has been unjustifiable for years. It gave birth to the, I just got here. Well, unfortunately, this morning, Keith Pelly is going to have to get out of bed and do his job and take a dog out back. Like, dude, it's insane this guy is still the president. Holy shit, are you kidding? After all this, after all that, he is the reason things got so toxic. He is the reason for the boos, because fans can't believe you ran this back. They cannot fucking believe.
And
if you were on the ice,
money,
Brendan, it would have been you getting booed. Yeah. They cannot believe you ran this back.
Yeah,
and you're the reason they're getting nothing.
When Mitch Marner, he sat the final 3 minutes of the game. Craig Berube refused to put him out there on the ice. But when he was out there, the brief moments before that, before Brad Marchand scored the empty netter, he got booed by the fans. But the fans aren't booing Mitch directly.
Some of them are.
Some of them are for his performances on the ice because they have not been good enough. But the fans are unhappy because the guys above them decided that Mitch Marner is the guy for the team.
Guy. I refuse to blame Brad for this. I refuse.
Brad Treliving, in his interview with Brendan Shanahan, I assume had to agree to Brendan Shanahan's plan that he wanted to keep things together. I don't think Brad Treliving had a choice in any of this. The fans, a lot of that anger is just directed at the organization as a whole.
Yes.
They're booing the crest and the people who are running it because they've made these terrible decisions consistently over the course of this entire tenure.
And Jesse, Marner is representative, not directly, he's representative of those terrible decisions. Of those
because he's the biggest one.
By the way, yeah, because he's the biggest one. By the way, let me just tell you something. They'll tell you being patient is hard. Doing nothing is easy. And
I don't know, I found it pretty difficult.
And I got to tell you, I feel like I think Mitch has made some mistakes. I think specifically the people around him have made enormous errors. But I also feel for him in the sense that the Leafs need to be the guys over 50 who played in the league, who won Stanley Cups, need to be smart enough to know, hey, not only is this not working, but it's going to get toxic real quick here. And listen, the Leafs not trading Mitch or Willie or Austin or whatever. It's not just Mitch, but Mitch is the hot point, right?
Yes.
Because Willie could have been traded too in that June. He could have been traded because he had an expiring deal.
Yes. Exactly. And they ended up. So when you commit to Marner's deal not expiring, or not expiring,
Willie.
rather, when you commit to letting Marner's no move kick in,
You had to trade Willie.
you have to trade Willie.
And you did
And
not.
what did they let him do? They let him become one of the best players in the league.
Yeah.
They signed him to a huge contract. And now you've just got all 4 of them again. You idiots. Like, signing Willie was, all right, we're doing this for the next 2 years. And if it works, it works. And it didn't. So of course you should be fired.
And that point of view
I should see him walking outside behind me. Where the friggin' with a box of shit. Where is he?